This is the Misdirected Mark Podcast, a podcast about gaming, game mastering, and entertaining you, our listeners. We are explicit, and you have been warned, and I'd like to thank Mike Willard for letting us use his music on our show. Now let's pick up those mics and get on with this thing.
And welcome to Election Night in America. We're not going to talk about any of that till maybe the after show and stick with gaming and mashing stuff up. My name is Chris.
And I'm Phil.
And I'm Wolf Blitzer after a 12-hour bender after this crazy election is over.
That's right, and Phil is streaming the show about 20 seconds behind us off of his Chromebook.
We might have been listening to YouTube before the show started.
We may very well have been. All right, well, with all of that out of the way, Phil, my friend, my companion, my compadre in podcasting, what is going on?
Well, I took a road trip this weekend, went and visited my parents.
Did you listen to a metric ton of podcasts?
I did listen to a metric ton of podcasts. Good stuff.
Good. Very good.
And ate a bunch of Mom's cooking, which will have done nothing when we get to the weight loss challenge.
Lay gasp.
Oh, but it was good.
It's always good. It's always good to see the parents.
It was good to see the parents. It was, my parents, I was pretty wary from work and all the stuff that's been going on lately. So to kind of retreat to Mom and Dad's place to kind of get, family comfort and stuff. It was good. And Mom's cooking. Good.
Mom's cooking good.
Had a lot of Scottish food.
Oh, that's right. Food. Scottish, very Scottish.
Yeah.
Haggis.
No, we didn't have haggis. We did have Lorne sausage, which is square sausage. It's you have it you fry it and then have it on a roll. Delicious.
Nice.
And some wheat meat pies, also very delicious. Anyway, did that. Did a ton of prep for getting Hydra Hackers ready for a catacon.
Yeah.
Which has involved all the lamination. All of the lamination.
I heard you were putting out lamination porn all over the internet today.
I might have been posting some pictures of me laminating. If you want to see my laminator, you can see it on Twitter.
If you want to see my laminator.
Yeah, I got a magical laminator. I laminate it once. Anyway.
Is it like a magical penis?
Kind of.
Oh, okay. For anybody who doesn't know what that is, by the way, we are explicit. You have been warned. You should listen to the after show from last week. Then you'll understand.
Absolutely.
All right.
Anyway, I did a bunch of that, and I am almost ready for a catacon. I got like one last thing to do, but all the game material is done, and it turns out this game has a shit ton of parts.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to do that.
Yes,
but
you did.
It's got a lot of parts.
You totally meant to do that.
Anyway, it's
cool.
cool.
It's kind of what you do.
It's cool though. I mean, I like it. I mean, it's a busy table when it runs, but I did make cool hydration meters, so players can use dry erase markers to mark how hydrated their characters are. And
don't worry, Phil. When your developer gets a hold of the game, he will cut mercilessly.
Oh, not the pieces. I love the pieces.
Yeah, well,
actually, technically, you don't actually need the hydration thing. It's on the character sheet. I just don't like using it.
Oh, okay.
I was like, it'd be so much cooler if it was a dry erase thing, so you could constantly just mark it up, mark it down, as opposed to doing it and erasing it on your sheet.
Well, when we go to Kickstarter, we will provide laminated character sheets.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I do that. Anyway, good stuff, and a good time, and nice little solo road trip. So that was me. Bob, how are you doing acclimating to the night shift?
Week 1 is done, so I am pretty much settled into the groove now. So week 2 is usually pretty mellow and pretty steady. The sleep schedule is working out pretty well now, but it takes that first week to really get into the groove properly. So that's yay, night shift. But night shift is the heady time where I can do things like binge watch things like Young Justice on Netflix.
See, I started, and then Bob's like, I'm finishing Young Justice.
Well,
fuck.
I'm partway into season 2.
Oh, forget it. I'm like partway into season 1.
I really enjoyed season 1, and I didn't like the things that they changed for season 2. So I'm kind of It's still good, but I won't say anything else because I don't want spoilers.
Season 2 gets better.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what I did do today? I signed up for Loot Crate.
Oh,
I just
nice.
gave it a 6-month run.
Wait, 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second. He's talking about Young Justice. Young Justice's season 3 was greenlit.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We don't know where it's going to be.
We don't know when.
We don't know when, but I feel like Rich Howard is screaming out in joy that he has even more.
I don't think it's like feel. Like I think we all know Rich Howard screaming out in joy.
I kind of want to see the YouTube video of him doing his happy dance. It's like Snoopy with the feet.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
right?
We're very whelmed.
Senda Snoopy is a character from Charlie Brown from the Peanuts from the 19.
Oh, that's harsh. feel like she might know that.
She might.
Just checking. All right.
But that's pretty much. The past week I've played it pretty mellow, so I didn't. Oh, I went and saw Doctor Strange. So thumbs up.
I did too. 2 thumbs up. Very
thumbs
good.
up. Good stuff. What about you, Chris? What's going on?
I went to Gamehole Con.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah,
thing.
you did.
Yeah, I did. Totally went to Gamehole Con. Me and Sean drove out there, and I had some fun, and I'll talk about it later in the social media depository.
Just real quick, how much of a drive is that?
10 and a half hours.
Okay. I mean, I've done 10.
It wasn't that bad.
It's not that bad.
Driving with Merwin is enjoyable. He's a good company and a good conversation.
Oh, no doubt.
Oh, I guess Merwin gives good conversation.
And there was a special episode of Down with D&D, right?
Yeah, the car edition. So now there's a bed edition. There's a car edition.
I mentioned on our Slack channel today, there's room for the hot tub edition.
I don't know if I want to be involved in the hot tub edition. That's a lot of white people.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Like,
Don't be uncomfortable about it.
It'll be blinding.
Don't be uncomfortable about it. It'll
Be like
okay.
blinded by the light,
Yes.
Oh, I guess that's it, man. I haven't really done anything else. I was suffering from con drop yesterday, so it was hard to get anything done. Today has been better. I got a lot more stuff done. But yeah, that's all that's really going on with me. Like I said, I'll talk about Gamehole Con later. Well, a couple of things before we move on to the workshop. Rocker Boys and Vending Machines is out to our patrons, both on the Character Cache, I think, and on the Misdirected Mark Productions
I have not
Patreon.
released it to the Character Cache
Oh,
yet.
well, you should do that.
I will.
Okay.
But it is released to the Misdirected Mark backers.
Yes.
So that's sweet.
Yep. Everyone else, you'll be able to get it in December. But if you become a patron, you'll get it early.
Yeah. In fact, any new patrons, we can hand over the URL and password to.
Exactly.
But then, after that, we'll release it public on our site, and we'll put it up on drive-thru so that it's accessible wherever you like to get your PDFs.
Mm-hmm. And last thing, iTunes review, because I'm going to start doing these things. I'm going to read one iTunes review a week. So this is for Misdirected Mark Productions, not Misdirected Mark Podcast, the mega feed, Misdirected Mark Productions. So please go there and review the mega feed. It will help all of the shows. So this is from Padme's Lover. He says, a lot of variety of gaming advice and live play in many systems. D&D 5e, Adventurers League, Star Wars Saga, that's from when we had threats from Threat Detected going on. One-shot advice, like, Panda's Talking Games, and the One Ring, which is also threats from Gallifrey.
Yep.
So thank you, Padme's Lover. With that, we will make our way over to the workshop to talk about mashups.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the workshop, where we try to build better games.
All right, so welcome to the workshop. Tonight we are talking about mashups.
Mashups? Is it like Smash Up?
Kind of like Smash Up.
Little
It's
bit.
a little bit of a mashup. I
Card-
feel like there's
card game
another
by
up.
the way.
Yeah. Listen, here's what we're going to do, though. Chat room, listen carefully. Chat room, we want you to talk to Bob while Chris and I are talking through this segment, and we need some genres to mash up. And then we'll get to it at the end. We're actually going to do a little mashup based on 2 picks that the chat room provides. So Bob will be watching, and you all start thinking of different genres, and then Chris and I are going to have a blast putting 2 of them together.
On air.
Right here,
live.
on the air, man. No prep.
That's right.
That's right. We are eating our own dog food, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. So this topic is another case of a topic coming to us from a previous show. And this was actually last week, if I remember correctly.
It was actually in the middle of the reskinning episode. We drifted a little for a second on mashups, and I was like, no, let's throw a pin and come back. And yeah, I mean, I just, you know what? I like picking the ones that like come up during the show. I mean, we have another list I go to, but I like it when we just pull stuff that's relevant.
Me too, because it's like we just talked about it last week a little bit, and now we can move into the
Exactly.
next week.
So who knows? Actually, we won't know because next week I will not be here.
You will not be here.
Next week you will be hosting the show with a secret guest, or
I think well, I haven't confirmed yet. I have somebody on in line to be the other host next week.
All right.
And if that person falls through, it'll just be me and Bob.
Okay. I mean, I apologize, but I'm before we jump in the topic, I will be away on a business trip, and so I can't from crappy hotel room. It's not good.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
Oh.
So let's get into this topic.
Let's do it.
Let's define first what is a mashup.
Oh, I love definitions.
I know you do. That's why that's the first thing we talk about.
That's right. Okay. Here we go. So a mashup is taking two or more genres and putting them together to create a unique genre from the overlap of the two. And typically mashups are used to create settings. It's not really a mechanical thing.
Not really.
Not really. I mean, I say that, but I'm sure somebody has done a mechanical mashup, but that's not what we're talking about.
We're going to actually talk about mechanical mashups a little bit.
A little bit.
Because people don't usually think of them as mechanical mashups, because usually when you mechanically mash something up, you just get a new game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to some point, that is true. When we mash up two genres to make a setting,
We get a new setting.
we do get a new setting.
Yeah.
All right. So, that is, that's what we're talking about by mashups.
Yeah. So, real quick, mechanical mashups, like I mentioned before, that like City of Mist is a mechanical mashup. It's powered by the Apocalypse plus Lady Blackbird.
Okay. I dig that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. D&D 5th edition is basically a mashup of every single D&D that ever existed. There's even Dungeon World stuff in there.
Yeah, no, that's legit.
And
Okay.
if you think about Fate is a mashup of Fudge and Over the Edge.
Yeah.
Like the ideas from those games, the mechanics from those games created that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I know what you're saying, and for City of Mist, I totally agree with you, right? Like it's the Lady Blackbird mechanic applied
To the Apocalypse
powered by
world.
the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Sometimes for a mechanical mashup, it's overt, and sometimes it's more like I see where your DNA is from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So absolutely.
I'm with
So
you.
yeah.
All right. So why don't you tell me about like where did your first exposures to mashups come from?
Right. So like mashups, I mean, look, listen, mashups aren't new technology or anything.
No, man, we've been doing this stuff forever.
I mean, if we go back to, little kid Phil, my first mashup ever is, Reese's peanut butter cups, man.
Oh yeah.
You put your chocolate in my peanut butter, put your peanut butter in my chocolate. I mean, come on. What is better? What is better in candy?
Not much.
Tell me, Conan, what is better in candy than Reese's peanut butter cup?
Well, you should say what is best in life, Conan.
What is best in candy, Conan?
Reese's peanut butter cup. Chocolate mashed with peanut butter, frozen together and then softened.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. Yeah, so I mean, mashups in RPGs are not uncommon.
No, not at all. They take all forms of gaming, from satire to comedy to drama to action.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to just kind of run through some?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So for instance, Magical Girls and Heists. If you look, that is a mashup that exists. You can look at the SAS Geek Magical Girls One Last Job episode for that one.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a fantastic mashup.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk a little bit about how that how those things come together.
You get another one?
Yeah, Kid Detectives and Cthulhu, little Scooby Thulu.
Oh yeah, doesn't Carl Kiesler run that?
I think so.
Yeah. How about Ecological Disaster plus Cyberpunk?
Oh, I know that one.
Oh yeah, it might be the game that we're
Bam!
working on.
That might be Hydro Hackers.
Yeah, your game that we're all working on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got another one?
Jason Bourne and Vampires.
Sure is Knights Black Agents up
Oh
in here.
man, is it ever?
War Vets and Superheroes and Cyberpunk. It's like your heart just gets like strung. Your heartstrings just get plucked. Dunk,
Tell me,
dunk.
baby, what is it?
Underground, man.
Underground.
Got another one?
I do. How about Musketeers and Space Opera?
Bingo.
P.K. Sullivan's
Three
Three
Rocketeers.
Rocketeers.
And our last little example is post-apocalyptic plus fantasy, which is Gamma World.
Yeah, and in fact, I think you could say that. You could probably also say Numenera.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Numenera's like the slightly less wacky version of Gamma World.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so with mashups, we're gonna focus tonight. Even though we talked a little bit about mechanical mashups, we're gonna focus tonight on settings.
Yes.
All right. So we have to have a way, but we also have to think about mechanics, because when we mash up a setting, we still have to apply mechanics to it in order to actually have a playable game.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like for instance, mashing up genres for setting is kind of easy if you're into that creative thought experiments type stuff, and they're a lot of fun then too. But the mechanical part of it can be applying the mechanics to make that work can be tricky at times.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, there's a lot to this, right? So, I mean, I like doing this. Like you and I have done this where we've just kind of mashed stuff up and just like sat on the couch, like kicking it around, laughing about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's like a world different from being able to take it to the table.
Well, yeah.
So, my personal preferences, for this is like the more generic the system, the easier the mashup.
It seems to be very reasonable.
Like when a game is super tight, you really have to be careful about what you're mashing into it.
Yeah. I mean, there, like, for instance, like, we keep talking, like, the Monster Hearts Kickstarter is going on right now.
Yes.
But John Stravopoulos has a couple of hacks for it, but I've never seen these hacks because maybe it's hard to make them.
Yeah, like for instance, and then one of them is Mutant Hearts, which is it's Monster Hearts, except that it's mutants, and it's more like playing the New Mutants at Xavier's Academy.
Yeah, which sounds like it wouldn't be that hard because it's not that big of a translation. But I mean, when you start taking into account that you have to deal with superpowers.
Yeah, and I think at the time when he was writing it, because I actually talked to him a couple of weeks ago, and he said he just got busy with other stuff, like he had to shelve those projects.
Yeah.
But when he started writing that, all of the other superhero powered by the apocalypse games hadn't dropped yet.
Yeah.
Like now he could probably solve that problem really quick.
Well, it looks like Masks has solved some of that stuff anyway.
That's the one I would actually have led with.
I mean, that game is almost the game that he was talking about in a lot of ways. It's all about how people around you are influencing you.
Right. And all you have to do is kind of change that a little mechanically to kind of be more about the, how Monster Hearts kind of deals with it. And I think you could probably go some places.
Well, because Monster Hearts is dealing with being other.
Yeah.
Right. And so then the Mutant Hearts would be dealing with being other, but from the superpower side of things instead of the monster side of things.
Exactly.
So like you said, generic systems, they're the best ways to go about doing this because they're made for this. Like Savage Worlds, it gets reskinned into everything. GURPS has a billion setting books because you can just drop whatever on top of it that you want to. D20 did a bunch of that stuff. And you either have to do some minor rules drifts or some trapping drifts to make it all work.
Yeah, Fate.
Yeah, that one's a great one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Fate, in fact, actually has you build the game when you start.
Mm-hmm.
So you technically could just build a mashup.
And they give you a bunch of tools in the toolkit, like extras, to put in there from different places to just, like, look for the tool that works for the thing. So as long as you've read the books, you have a whole bunch of knowledge for how to create your thing, because it's a toolkit.
Exactly. Now, I think this gets a lot harder if the mechanics that you want to engage with are super focused.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can go and look at Night Witches to try to do some sort of fighter pilot game, but it's going to be really hard to break away from all of that. There's a lot of stuff in that game that is about being a female pilot during that time period.
Yeah, if you mashed something into that, so female fighter pilots plus UFOs, like the Nazis had, UFOs or something, right? Because that's a mashup, right?
Yeah.
You'd be taking like UFO stuff plus World War II.
Well, here's the question: are you trying to take that game then away from? You're trying to take the idea of that game being away from what it is to being something more pulpy? Because then you have a problem because it's harder to make that game feel pulpy.
Exactly, and so that's like if I wanted to do World War II and UFOs, doing that using Night Witches is really hard. Doing that with Fate is not that hard at all.
Not hard at all.
Doing it with Savage Worlds is almost easy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And again, it's because, and what we're trying to say here is that a lot of times games that have very focused rules are often focused onto a specific setting or a specific feeling that they're trying, like a genre or a feeling that they're trying to emulate.
Those mechanics are informing play in a very particular way.
Yeah. And so when you mash something into it, you have changed the setting, and now you have changed how the mechanics interface.
It's why I was talking about to me there's a difference between a game, a system,
and a setting
and a toolkit.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about rules.
Oh, you're talking about rules. Okay.
Yeah, like there's game rules that do a very specific thing. Like that's why certain board games are board games. Like they're not board game systems.
Okay.
Like Mice and Mystics is a board game, but like that system that underlies it can be applied to a bunch of different things. Like if you think about the Descent games, like they've been sort of translated to in some ways to they've informed Mansions of Madness, they've informed Star Wars, the Star Wars game, but when you apply that theme to them, they have very specific mechanics that go along with them.
Yes.
So I mean that's the same thing for role playing games. I mean we all have this hacker's mentality because of how games have been for a long time, but in the last 10 years, and even before that, we just didn't like those games weren't the most popular games. We didn't have the internet. Like they're very focused experiences that are hard to mess with.
Yeah, so I always get weary when somebody says like they've mashed in something to a depending on the game system.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like sometimes I find it utterly fascinating. Like for instance, the first time I heard Senda talk about Magical Girls One Last Job, I was like, shit, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like that's still a heist game at its core, just that, you've mashed in Magical Girls and it sounds ridiculous and yet will totally work.
Yeah, and that though, like from your interview with him on Pandas Talking Games, he designed the game kind of to be that. Like,
yeah, well,
you can apply whatever you want to it.
Right. Grant actually said he almost never actually runs it with a modern setting.
Yeah.
He runs it cyberpunk, which I fully approve.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, mechanics are a thing you have to kind of think about. Like mashing up two genre settings to make a third one is great, but if you actually want this to be something you can play, then you actually kind of need to ponder what you're going to run this in.
Yeah, so that's like one of the biggest dangers of trying to do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the other one is if you mash up two things that don't necessarily go together, and you're not sure how some of those questions that arise from play should be answered, especially while you're playing, you could have a breakdown of your setting. Like it could start making sense to the people.
Dinosaur romance.
Yeah, and that's fine if everybody's on board with it, and if everybody that's one of those times where can we just stop for a second, figure out how this feels, how it all works together, or retcon it, but that just takes table cooperation, in my opinion.
Now, I'll say this: when you're doing one of these mashups, it depends on what your goal is. Like, if your goal is, hey, I'm going to run a con game, so I'm going to run a 4-hour con game, I'm going to mash these two batshit crazy things together.
Mm-hmm.
You only need that thing to run for 4 hours.
Yeah.
So how intricate and meticulous you are about how the pieces line up.
Oh, wait. Are we going to do one shot versus campaign?
We're gonna do
Show me what you got. Yeah, show me what you got. Show me what you... Sorry, Senda.
We're going along.
No, seriously though, if you're running this thing for a one shot, and I'll take Senda's part. There we go.
Oh man.
The silent giggler strikes. What just happened? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
There's
I mean,
no editing, so keep going.
If you're going to talk about one shots, you have to giggle a little.
That's true.
Anyway, so if you have to only make this thing last for 4 hours, the best one is when she laughs hard enough that she snorts for a second.
Yeah.
That's how I know. That's how I know on the show that I really got her.
Yes.
Yeah. She can say.
So this would be in the outtakes, but we're not going to have outtakes. So
right.
Continue on.
This
okay,
just
we're done now.
Right here.
That was your outtakes for Pandas Talking Game segue for this particular one shot versus campaign thing.
You know how much trouble I get in later when she hears this?
Oh yeah, tons.
Because she's not in the chat room right
good.
now.
Continue.
Okay. Anyway, so if you only have to make this thing last for 4 hours, you can get a little sloppy about mashing this up because you can just be like, it's a one shot. We just have to like it doesn't matter if it lines up well.
It's cool that there's flying sex snakes.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
It just works. But if you have to run this thing for a campaign, you actually have to put a little more thought to this.
Yeah, because like I said, if something becomes disjointed in your head between you and all the rest of the players, it can just fall apart real fast. So table cooperation, conversation, like how do we make this make sense logically in the logic of the fiction?
Yeah, like that's at a point where now you have to like actually stop and say to yourself, like, okay, this premise is funny.
Mm-hmm.
I have mechanics this will run in, but can this shit actually run session after session?
Yeah.
Or is it just going to be like ridiculous?
Yeah. And that's fine. Like it's cool to have that conversation with yourself, but sometimes you get into play and something comes up that you weren't expecting.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's okay. Just take a breath, stop the game, ask, well, let's figure out how this logically makes sense, or we retcon it, and that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we're going to talk about how to make a mashup in a second, but we should probably go to the chat room for life first. Chat room, talk to me.
Senda heard you.
Uh-oh.
She knows who Snoopy is.
Now we're in trouble.
Before we go on, I'm a little parched. I need something to drink. Can you?
Oh my God, are we having a commercial break?
I guess we're having a commercial break. So these
purple
came. You want the purple one?
Yeah, give me the purple. Purple is a fruit, right?
Purple is a fruit. So these are Gamergy. I got these as free samples from a company called Gamergy at Gamehole Con, and I told the nice lady who gave them to me, whose name I don't have in front of me because it's on a card somewhere, that I would bring them back and we'd drink them on the show and see how they tasted. I actually haven't tried the green one yet. If you want to open that, we can take a couple of sips and see what's up.
I'm gonna drink the green one, which is Epic Green,
Yep.
and I'm gonna drink it in my gaming NBS glass.
So there's some interesting tidbits I got from the lady. So their company is actually growing rather quickly, but it's only in the Midwest right now. So if you're on the East Coast where we are, they don't really have distribution out this way just yet. But they are like 2 years ahead of where they're supposed to be. They were also working with the gentleman who started the whole Monster thing.
Monster Energy?
Drink.
Okay.
These are supposed to be all natural. They're not supposed to give you that crash.
Is my heart gonna fucking explode?
No,
for
man.
this?
Like she said, they're supposed to be. I drank a bunch. I drank some of the free samples and stuff, and I've talked to some other people. Like VC had a bunch of these with his VC from. I ran into him at Gamehole. Had a bunch of these, and he seemed to be okay with it. Like he didn't crash or anything like that. His lovely girlfriend Amanda also had some of it. I don't know how good the green one is.
Green one's pretty good.
This one is quite tasty in my opinion. This is called Purple Nurple. Gamergy. Put a twist in your flavor.
This one tastes like melted green lifesavers.
This one's called Epic Green. Melted green lifesavers.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting off of this.
This has been
That's
a
exactly
misdirected
what
Mark commercial
tastes
break.
like.
It tastes like melted green lifesavers, but not ridiculously sweet.
No, not at all.
A little sweet.
It looks like they have that sort of Gatorade-ish type packaging. So
They do. It's very Gatorade reminiscent.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what's in the chat room?
So, what a lively crew. Let me just say, when you said, hey, gives Bob some genres and we'll make a list and then we'll mash something up later.
How many did you get? 50?
Like 20-something.
Oh,
like,
good.
Just they were rolling and they did not stop
Well,
until I
we're
told
going to
them.
roll a D20.
I'll just pick a couple because.
Okay, that's fair.
But Mo Gilvenblight had a.
Tusino, the
yeah.
Canadian god of gaming.
The godfather of
The
games.
godfather.
He
The game
said,
father, sorry.
He made a comment. For board games, there are mechanics like deck building. Dominion made it famous, and then a slew of games took that mechanic and did new things with it.
It's true.
Which is true.
That is true. I mean, Hydro Hackers took the bag building mechanic, which I think is I don't know.
Somebody told me what game it was first in, but
I don't
can't
know.
remember.
It's not Orleans, is it?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's I'm just blanking on it right now.
I mean, I know Orleans has a bag building mechanic. I just don't know if it's the first one.
Mhm.
Maybe Mo knows.
Maybe Mo does. Yeah. Anything else, Bob? No?
Oh, okay.
Yes, maybe. Filling time.
No, sorry, I was just trying to catch up for a second
is
there.
on
So
you. I'm
you
just
want me
stealing all the
to
shit
pick
today.
a couple?
Yes,
Or are we
it
picking them
is.
later? That's later.
Picking them later, yeah.
Picking them later? Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've got.
Yeah,
That's
if you
cool.
got a bunch,
is there,
that's
any,
good.
is there any more questions, though? That's the important part.
At the moment, no.
Okay, cool. Now it's time to make a mashup. So what's step one, Phil?
Yeah, let's break this down. Like, let's get into the mechanics of this because I think people do this without really kind of thinking through what the steps are.
Yeah, so we're going to go with 4 steps.
We are going to go with 4 steps.
What is the first step?
All right, step number 1. We need some genres.
All right, I will pick one, and then you can pick one.
Yeah,
Ecological disaster.
cyberpunk.
So what are we talking about?
We're talking about Hydro Hackers.
Oh, okay,
God,
cool.
we're so shameless.
So what is step 2 then?
All right, so step 2 is we got to understand the tropes and tones and things that go into each one of those genres. Now, this sounds a lot like our talk from last week when we were talking about narratively reskinning, because we were talking about getting into understanding the genres.
That's because understanding tropes of genres is a skill that you should have as a game master or a game designer or anything or a narrative designer.
Yes.
You know, like any of that stuff, you should probably understand what the tropes are of specific genres.
By all means, go to tvtropes.com.
Yeah, learning that knowledge will just make you better.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we need to understand the tropes. So let's not get like super deep. But,
Sure. Well, ecological disaster. Tell me one.
Scarcity.
Another one is control.
Yeah, like who's controlling the resources.
Mm-hmm.
The last one, the shake up of basic needs. Like that's like the thing about an ecological disaster, right? Like the things you take for granted.
Well, in the case of Hydro Hackers, it's water is plentiful right now, but in this game, it's not.
Right, like we all take for granted. You can just turn on the water faucet and get drinkable water out of it.
Yeah. And what happens when that is doesn't exist anymore? That's the trope, right?
Right.
Take away
Yeah.
So what's the other one?
Let's do cyberpunk. Give me some tropes from cyberpunk.
High tech.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Like cyberpunk is, cybernetic arms and hover cars and flechette pistols,
Custom designer drugs that actually like can do certain specific things that also like fix certain specific things in the brain and whatnot.
Exactly.
Black market type stuff that's cutting edge.
Yep. Yeah.
What else?
So high tech also goes to street level
Huh.
because that's a very cyberpunk thing. Like you have, like you have ridiculously high tech stuff, but then the street has its own tech. Like, Case has a cyber deck.
He does, yes.
Like he's a dude on the street.
Yeah, so and like people that can go and like we said that black market stuff can get like razor fingers, nails.
Yeah.
And get your razor girls or guys.
Yep.
Mark your bingo board. What else you got?
Monolithic corporations.
Well, yes, that's like
I mean,
it's the how the few have everything and the many have nothing.
right. And it's got a lot of the feel of those large Japanese corporations. I mean, remember, cyberpunk movement comes out of that early 80s.
I know, it's funny that you say large Japanese because right now it's just large international.
Well, because in the early 80s, it was that fear of the Japanese economic machine. Like that time when GM is struggling, but Toyota is like thriving. And like that's the historical context from where this
Too bad
comes
Japan didn't have anywhere to expand to.
from. Right.
Or lucky for the rest of us.
Lucky for the rest of us. But I mean, that's why cyberpunk, there's a whole chunk of cyberpunk that kind of resonates out of that Pacific Rim area.
That's why Neo Tokyo is a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last thing, punks, because punk and
Cyberpunk.
that means those who are rebelling against those in power are living a life that is not in line with those who are in power or normal society.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of stick it to the man.
Yeah.
And the man being those monolithic corporations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. So now that's a ridiculously simple look at those tropes. Like
of
we're
course.
doing this because we can't be up all night.
If you want to see the cyberpunk tropes, go see the cyberpunk episode, which is somewhere in the back. If you can't find it, start at 150 and work your way forward.
That's right. Or I'm sorry, Bob. Where should you start?
161.
167.
167.
167. Do we know do we know what my first one was?
Episode 10. Oh, you meant your first regular episode.
Yeah.
Episode 105.
Okay, I've been here for a while then.
You have been here for a while.
Very good. Carry on. Anyway, all right. So yeah, so super simple survey of those tropes, but enough for us to actually play with now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So step 3 is look at the intersections of the tropes and how one will color the other.
Right, because the mashup, a mashup, if we're looking at a Venn diagram, the uninteresting parts are the two parts of the circle where nothing touches.
Yeah.
Because those are just those genres.
Because we know those genres, right?
Right.
Like we're not creating anything new.
Right. The cool part is the Venn diagram.
Yeah. And this
Cecilia.
Yes, it's really neat because if you...
Bob just got that.
Yeah, I know. I got it too, but I just wanted to gloss over because I was going to say something profound. At least I think it was profound. Maybe it might not have been profound. So the parts of the Venn diagram that aren't crossing are things that we're familiar with. So there are things that we can attach to, we can get.
And we have those under control.
Yeah. And then the things that are crossing over each other, they're neat because they're something new. And they're the thing that surprises us and that can create a mystery for us. So they're the thing that we get to explore.
That's right. I mean, essentially, this is the cool shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, wow, we gave samurais laser swords. That's pretty sweet. And magical powers.
Right. And so, right. And right onto that, we now have to start doing some considerations. What does it mean to have given samurais laser swords?
Yeah. And magical powers.
Right. And magical power. What does that mean? And how does the world react to that?
Uh-huh.
And so that's where we get into looking at these intersections.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are many that we could do, but we'll take a crack at just a couple of these.
Yeah. So what's the first one?
Let's take the cyberpunk monolithic corporation,
Mm-hmm.
and from ecological disaster, let's talk about control. Right?
Sure.
Like who's controlling resources.
Yes.
All right. So in Hydro Hackers, what does that add up to? That's the Water Authority.
Yes.
It's the giant corporation that's in charge of distribution of drinkable water.
Do you think... Maybe not.
Ask.
In Cyberpunk, do you think Cyberpunk isn't an ecological disaster, but a economic disaster situation?
It can be, if you're talking about it in terms of class, haves, have-nots, that kind of thing. So it could be that. It could be... Yeah, so economics is certainly a part of Cyberpunk that's not always explored. People get really focused on chrome arms and shit like that,
Mm-hmm.
but to me, Cyberpunk has very much to do with what you just said.
Yeah,
like
me too. Like, it's the crux of why the whole world is the way it is.
Right. And so on the website for Hydra Hackers, out at Encoded, I wrote this little flash fiction piece where Pex, one of our fictional characters, kind of talks about like what happened. And so one of the things he makes mention of is how the rich drink pure water and then basically piss it out.
Yeah.
And everyone everyone else drinks the recycled water.
Yeah.
And that's that economic disaster, so to speak.
Because water is money.
Yeah. In fact, my inspiration for that was 13th Warrior.
Oh, nice.
You know the scene in 13th Warrior
Yeah, I do.
where they're all washing with the same bowl of water, and it's, progressively more disgusting as you're further down the chain.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, Monolithic Corporation intersects with Control. We get the Water Authority. In Hydro Hackers, the Water Authority is this monolithic corporation that controls the flow of free water. They are the bad guys.
They are the bad guys.
It's quite simple. If water should be free, these are the guys holding the keys.
Yep.
Okay.
And they are the bad guys because our protagonists in Hydro Hackers are what we get when we add punks plus scarcity,
Yeah.
which are the Hydro Hackers.
Right. So obviously, if we have a monolithic corporation holding all the water, we now need to have opposition to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, it's funny because that part I always understood, but it wasn't until somebody else had told me, like, oh, it's they originally said Cyberpunk Robin Hoods.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh shit, that's exactly what this game is.
Yep, pretty much.
And then I scrubbed out cyber for Hydropunk
Mm-hmm.
because we scrubbed out implants.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right. So yeah, cool. So the intersections are interesting things. And from that is where we start to have those kind of thought experiment questions.
Yeah, because those are, keep going.
So I'll just give an example. Like, one of the things we have to consider is like the Water Authority can't just be a paper pushing corporation. Like, if you are controlling the flow of water, you're controlling it with armed forces.
Yeah, you need boots on the ground.
Yeah, you need guns on the ground.
Because water is still, like, it's not digital. It's a real thing.
Right. And if you are sitting on a ton of it and there's a bunch of people who don't have it, they will come try to take it.
Yeah.
And there needs to be a reason why they don't.
Yeah.
So we know that the Water Authority is actually also like a police state.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And they have armed forces and they have a lot of leeway to shoot people.
And the cool thing, I think, about the Water Authority is they're not just armed forces that use like robots. They are armed forces, and they are people that are that have boots on the ground that you interact with.
Yeah,
because that gives them a very personal, almost Sheriff of Nottingham feel.
Now I'll give you just one more hop beyond that. So that was the first hop, right? Like, we put those two things together. We thought about what the authority is. Here's like another knockoff question. It occurred to me that in Hydro Hackers, there can't be a right to bear arms. Like, guns have to have been outlawed and collected.
Mm-hmm.
Because when water becomes scarce, if you have a rifle, you will use it to go get water.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that the authority has to have done is outlawed weapons. Now, it's a cyberpunk game, so there's 3D printers, so you can't outlaw guns. So in addition, the authority's shock troopers are so heavily armored that nothing you can print can actually hurt them.
Yeah.
So, but it's these thought experiments, right? It's looking at this intersection and asking questions and kind of rippling outward.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's going to start to build your mashup.
Yeah, you just start with a couple of those. You look at the intersections of the tropes. You figure out where the interesting pieces are that are new or newish are appearing. And then you start doing that, what you just said. Ask those questions that ripple out. Like, well, if this is this, then what happens? If this is this, then what happens? And there could be like 7 or 8 different right answers. Just pick the one that you like.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of stuff that'll come up when you get in. Like, when you get into this part, I mean, I love this part, right? Like, I like
fun.
building settings.
Well, this is the world building part.
Right, and you like world building too.
I do to a point. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, like Tony, for instance, our lovable Rainmaker, shot me a paragraph just off the cuff one day about the blue standard for money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
the world moved off of gold
and water.
onto water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is where I eventually came up with Watermark from.
Yeah, water. Right, and then you came up with the best name because I was running mega credits.
Yeah.
As the currency, and then Chris is like, no, they're called watermarks, and I was like, oh, killer. Yeah.
Because
okay.
the game needs to be that.
Yeah, because you're trying to work into that theme.
Yeah.
And again, we're trying to work in the interface.
Yeah, and you can always do this by yourself if you want, but it's always more fun to do it with friends.
Yes, you can do it by yourself. You should always do it with friends.
Yeah. So what's step 4?
All right, step 4 is now we've had our thought experiments. We need to now apply some mechanics. We got to now make this into a game rather than shit we were talking about while we were upstairs, not watching TV.
So how many ways have we discovered that we can do this?
I got 2.
Okay, that's good. Let's do that. I'm sure there are more, but 2 is good.
Yeah, I'll give you 2.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, good.
First one is probably hack existing rule sets.
Yeah, you got to. That's the first step you go for, right?
Yeah, all the drifts, the things that aren't too crazy to do.
Yeah, this is your light lift. Like if you're not a professional game designer and you just want to run this thing.
Yeah, or you just want to play your game that you thought of.
Yeah. So hacking is the best way to go with this, right?
Yeah.
So start by picking a rule set.
So like Fate.
Yeah.
Because it basically through play first session is like through play create your game.
Yeah. Then what do you do? Like after you pick a rule set.
So there are existing setting materials that can be modified. Like you just look for those things and then change them to suit your game.
Some of this might even be a reskin as you steal it from another setting.
That's
book.
right. That's right.
And this is good because again, if you're not publishing this and you just want to play it, this is where you just liberally take. Like for instance, if I'm running Hydra Hackers and I'm running it as a Shadowrun game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to probably just go... Or not Shadowrun. Savage Worlds.
Sure.
I'm probably just going to go grab Interface 0.
Yeah.
And I'm going to save myself the hassle of implants and whatever. Like, I'll just go get that shit out of Interface 0.
Yeah, I'm just going to look through the book then and start crossing off the things. Like, these are the things that don't go in my game. Here are the things that translate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for Ecological Disaster... I don't know if there's one that has a lot to do with settings, and I probably would look for something that has deserts.
Sure.
Because in this case, if I'm looking for ecological disaster, I'm looking for the absence of water.
Mm-hmm.
So I probably want to find some Savage Worlds things regarding thirst, water, those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I might go look for... I might just go pick up Apocalypse World and look at the agendas, principles, and stuff, because then I can just apply that stuff to my game.
I mean, I think you could just, apply that to pretty much everywhere.
Well, yeah, but that's the way that I would... I mean, I would specifically look at how Apocalypse World handles it, because that game is about scarcity. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Okay, so yeah, so hacking is... hacking's the thing. After you have kind of pulled material from places, you kind of have to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just going to require a little rules drifting, or maybe you're going to have to make a couple house rules.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, not the end of the world.
Yeah, I mean, that is like, how can we get this game to the table as fast as humanly possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's things that arise while we're playing the game, we just sort of like make rulings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, this is totally acceptable. This is the first iteration of Hydra Hackers, right? What is this?
Sort of, kind of. I mean, it's Fate.
Yeah.
We did have a bag mechanic that we built.
We did. But I mean, everything else we just kind of drifted at
we're just going to use Fate.
Yeah, we were like, this is good.
Here's the toolkit. Here's Fate. We're just going to make some things.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
what's the second approach then?
Yeah, so the second approach is we really could just go build a game.
We can build a game, and we are going to use Hydra Hackers for this example, like when we talk about this a little bit. And I know it's Powered by the Apocalypse, but every time you start from scratch with Powered by the Apocalypse, you're building a new game.
Yeah, so let's be clear. I did not take Apocalypse World and reskin it into Hydra Hackers, or the Sprawl into Hydra Hackers.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with blank pages and built the game up. Now,
and by we mean you.
I
mean, I helped with the bag building stuff at the beginning, and it's kind of the
you
same.
did, and your time is coming to start.
And then I'll get to it.
Pounding out what I've written, but like the moves, some of them got lifted from other games.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the agendas and principles did, and we've talked about that on a past show.
Yep.
And that's legitimate because that's how many of these games are done.
Correct.
And we filled in gaps.
But there are new things, like how does water work?
Yeah, water's got a whole set of mechanics.
What about that? Those tags that are attached to moves that aren't like other tags are like you sweat. And
right. Overlay and
overlay.
Hydra hack.
And neighborhood.
So we should explain that for a second now, because I don't want to be vague about it.
All right. So let me see if I can do it, because see if you've taught me well enough.
Let's see.
So anytime you take a move that has the sweat tag, it costs you water, and water is a thing in the game. Like, you only have so much of it in your body, and that means you have to erase it, and then you have to replenish it in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Overlay is a move that you just overlay on top of a move that already exists.
Yep.
Neighborhood is a move that you can only use when you're in the neighborhood during the neighborhood phase of the game.
Yep.
And the last one is Hydro Hack. Those are moves that you can only use during the Hydro Hack phase of the game.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, and specifically, the reason like the neighborhood and the Hydro Hack tags exist is because the Hydro Hack move narratively doesn't make any sense unless you're Hydro Hacking.
Correct.
And it has in the move things that affect the bag mechanic.
Yeah.
So it's not translatable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The sweat one I love, right? The idea is that some moves cause exertion,
Mm-hmm.
like fighting causes you to sweat.
Yeah, in the pick list, some of mine that I've seen, favorite things are like, you can choose to not sweat.
Yeah.
But that you have to pick that.
Right.
Which means something else bad is going to happen.
And some of the playbook, actually every playbook, I shouldn't say every playbook has a move that affects consumption of water in different ways. But like, for instance, the plumber has one, no breaks, that they don't sweat during the actual hydro hacking part of the like during the hydro hack.
Yeah. Now that we've tangented a bunch, there's
Absolutely.
actually a purpose to what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because it's about developing a game around this premise.
We did.
Everything is around this premise of hydro hacking, about not having water, about the things that we just talked about.
Right. Now, here's the thing. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
So you're creating a game because you want to create a game, not because you're rushing to get this thing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just want to get this thing to the table, do the first one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, just hack it from something existing and, and not worry about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
That's like, if we just wanted to play Hydro Hackers, we would have played the Fate version. Right? And we would have then moved on to the next thing. The next game that we wanted to play. So we can move on now to making a mashup. So let's make a mashup.
Yeah, so let's be clear. What we just did in the first section was we kind of just broke down the steps. And we used Hydro Hackers. And actually, I just saw Jerry in the chat room saying, these guys talk about Hydro Hackers a lot. We do. I'm in the middle of designing it. It's kind of the thing that's obsessing my mind right now.
Of course we talk about Hydro Hackers a lot.
Sure. But the reason we were asking for a whole bunch of genres at the beginning of the show is that we're actually going to do the same steps that we just talked about with two genres that we are not prepared for.
Yeah. Although, let me say, in that segment, we've talked about Underground, Fate, Star Wars, Savage Worlds, D&D, Dungeon World. I mean, we talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. All right.
Other
So,
Powered by the Apocalypse games.
so let us turn to Bob. Robert, of the list of genres that have been selected, please select two genres.
Just two?
Just two.
Just
Just
two, for the sake of us getting this done.
Okay. So I feel like I have to pick coming of age
Oh, I love it already.
and let's go with
Anytime now.
crap. Slasher.
Slasher coming of age.
Okay.
All right. So first things first. We have our genres. So let's start.
Let's do it.
Let's start with coming of age. So what are some of the tropes? Like, this is Stand By Me. This is stories like that.
All right. So we got to have some of our tropes. We're gonna have friendships.
Yep. Friendships.
We're going to have some struggles about if we're doing coming of age, it's gonna have some struggles about sexuality, identity, those kinds of things. Legit? Do you think so?
Yep. I'm just writing the stuff down so I can see it.
Okay. So yeah, sexual identity. Let's see, what else is part of this? I'm just thinking through Stand By Me and often something life changing.
Yeah. There's always some sort of journey.
Yeah.
That they go.
Yeah.
That the people, the coming of age story takes, and that could be like the senior year of high school, or the going to find the dead body, or
Right.
we haven't.
This is the thing that all ties us together.
The event.
I feel like I made a poor choice
Why?
because it's like every slasher movie is
Oh no,
like teenage
we got to
kids.
turn this on its head. Like,
No.
yeah, we're gonna turn this on its head because it's too easy just to make this
Oh
into a
no,
horror movie.
I got it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
totally got it. Because when we do the slasher thing, we're going to talk about the slasher tropes. But then when we talk about the game, you're going to play the slasher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Like, you're going to be the
I was-
slasher coming of age.
I was right there.
Yeah,
with you.
we're good.
Yeah, this is like young Dexter. Like
Yes. Yeah.
this is like young Dexter if Dexter had friends. Yeah.
I mean, it could just be Dexter too, because everybody could play the same character.
Yeah, but I get some ideas.
Okay, cool.
I get some ideas. It could be terrible.
Because it could be. I mean, you could be playing. What's the name of that movie? Scream. You could be playing Scream, but you're the kids that are killing everybody.
Right.
Right. Like,
Something. It's gonna be something terrible. All right. All right. So let's do slasher. What are some of our tropes for slasher?
people get killed off one at a time.
Yep. Absolutely.
And what else we got?
There's something. I don't want to. I'll say it. There's something supernatural about how the killer operates. Like they're able to like show up out of nowhere. They're able to. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be supernatural.
Yeah, it is. It feels. It feels occult.
Yeah, like all of a sudden they're behind you, or you run and lock the door, but they're in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What else?
Um,
there's always. I mean, we can go with some of those other ones. Like, if you have sex, you die. If you're the virgin, you survive. There's all those tropes too, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, those are like the Scream rules, right? Like those.
Those are the Scream rules. I mean, that movie.
Never go alone.
Never go alone.
Right.
The Scream movie is in one of the definitive movies of how these things
Slashers
operate.
work.
Yeah, I mean, Cabin in the Woods is the satire on how these things work, right?
I'm gonna look at TV.
If you've never seen Cabin in the Woods, you should probably see Cabin in the Woods. There are roles that are played by certain people in the movie. There is the know-it-all and the like I said the jock and the cheerleader and the.
All right, here we go. I got a couple here.
All right, hit me.
Nearly indestructible.
Nearly indestructible.
Revenge. Like this is often slashers are often like doing something.
It's Jason Voorhees. Yep.
Yep.
Freddy Krueger.
Let's see.
Michael Myers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we got some good tropes there. I mean, we can probably do this thing.
Final Girl was one of them.
Well, Final Girl's a great game.
Yeah, well, Final Girl's actually a listed trope on TV Tropes. I'm gonna not click any of these. Oh my god, I want to click.
Okay.
Don't do it. I gotta not look. I avert my eyes.
Okay.
From TV
Okay. Here we
tropes.
go.
Okay, I'm safe.
Now we can do. Let's look at some of the intersections.
Yeah.
Between these, because that's important.
Okay, so I'm liking.
I'm really into this whole revenge idea, along with friendships.
Okay, I like that. Like friendship. Like these people are friends. For revenge. Like they're out to do some sort of revenge.
Yep.
All right, I like. Let's go with. Let's see.
I mean, we could go with the feels occult in the event, because the event maybe gives the person occult powers.
Yeah, that one. See, I want to do one. I want to do sexual identity. I was gonna do sexual identity and revenge, but let's pick something. Let's do sexual identity and feels occult.
Okay, tell me where those intersect.
I'm trying to think
All
how
right.
they're gonna intersect.
Okay, so sexual identity and feels occult. So we can use we can actually use occultism as the instead of as a metaphor for sexual identity. So it's more like witches. Like if you were a witch or a warlock or things like that, you were actually outcast from society. So we can actually do a Salem game and how it's the witches or the warlocks or the people who are considered witches getting revenge on all the people around them.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, they kind of were forced together.
Yeah.
Like, they were forced together because something happened, like that event that we're talking about.
Like the leader of their coven was burned at the stake.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, yeah, we got this game now. So you were a coven whose your leader has been burned at the stake, and now it's time to get revenge on all of these people.
Yeah.
And you do it through casting hexes and curses and doing terrible things to all the Puritans who, have wrongly burned you because you weren't actually a bad witch. You were a good witch.
Yeah, in fact,
because witches are all about the balance of nature in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and in fact, you were essentially you were finding your identity, right? Like who you were that coming of age, that identity, sexuality kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was actually really positive when the coven gets massacred, and because of that, like you've been deeply hurt.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Cool. So do you do it for revenge or do you do it to protect yourself? And that is the balance. Those are the choices that you make while you're playing this story game. And by the end of the game, you will have decided if you are going to be on the good side of being a witch or you're going to be on the bad side.
Yeah. And in fact, if we kind of go with that Wiccan idea of, what is it? Whatever you do, it visits back on you threefold.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were making this game, that would have to be a mechanic in the game.
Yes, absolutely.
Like anything, like whatever you do, the way you spend it, whatever, like whatever the economy or mechanic is, that threefold would be inside this.
So we can hit the and it can also be like there are other like if it's a one shot story game type situation, like that threefold thing, like it pushes you closer to the darkness, right?
Yes.
And if you go completely dark, then like you are that character has been taken out of the game and becomes maybe an antagonist in the game too. And because it's still like the Puritans aren't good either, or the people who are burning witches at the stake.
Yeah, well, they're clearly not good.
They're clearly not good too. So you're also trying to get rid of them because they are hurting you and yours.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, this game becomes this game becomes a revenge journey.
Yeah.
Like you're with friends. You're journeying on this revenge kick, and the question is, are you going to carry out these revenges, which will actually just make you as bad as they are, or are you going to somehow break off from this, have your own identity, kind of go the good route, forgive, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and find your place in the world. And that's where the game plays.
And then you've got the interplay of the group, because the group is moving in this revenge direction, but not everybody is with it. And because of that, there'll be that inner conflict.
Yeah. I think if I was going to mechanize this game, I might go pick up the stuff from New Orlandia or Adventureland, that game, because that has the like things are falling apart.
Oh yeah.
Because then you can
Damn the Man, Save the Music.
Yeah, like those have stats that fall apart, and the like your coven could be the thing that falls apart, or whatever could be the thing that falls apart.
Yeah, and in fact, if you do that, if you go Questlandia or Noirlandia route, which I think is brilliant, and we are, by the way, at step 4, right?
Yes,
we are
at
talking
step 4,
about
mechanizing this.
Then what you want to do is you want the phases of the game to be the coming of age story, like just like in Damn the Man, Save the Music, which, by the way, you can hear played on She's a Super Geek, models the Empire Records. I would have this revenge story be modeled on Stand By Me.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Like that, like those kind of steps, that kind of realization or whatever. The dead body becomes like the act of revenge. The train is like being run out of town. Like you can start to, we can pull those pieces out of the movie.
You can start troping it and then figuring out how that fits in other spaces.
Yeah.
Then you can create a scene list, and then you can just play the game through the scene list.
And then you need the elements, because the cards have meaning. So you need elements from Questlandia.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's a game. Enjoy, everybody. So that's how I go about doing that.
I mean, that's how we do a mashup.
Yep, that's how you do a mashup.
Shit, man, I want to go make this game.
It's okay. It'll be here on the audio.
People in the chat room are saying, "I would play this.
Yes.
I would play this."
I mean, yeah, that's. I mean,
so 2018. Be on the lookout for that game.
All right, so let me just say this as we're kind of before we wrap this up.
Sure.
Like, I love this shit. Right? Like,
yeah, this is how you make games.
Like, this is it. This is I mean, now listen, this is the easy part. When we talk about making games, this is the idea part.
Yeah, then there's all the mechanics that don't work.
Right. Then there's like
then we're like, New Orlandia was not the Landia system was not the right system to use. Let's find something else.
Right. There's like 6 to 10 months of us slamming our head on the table going, "What's going on?
What's going on?"
I said,
"Hey, yeah." Okay.
But anyway, Stand By Me is in TV tropes. I'm just looking through the trope.
Do you want me to kick it to the wrap up?
Yeah, let's get to the wrap up before I get lost.
We can always talk about that in the after show.
You got it.
Yes.
All right. So wrap up mashups.
Yeah. So mashups give GMs and players it's a great deal of satisfaction, right? Like this shit is fun.
Yeah, from a variety of creative places. Like there's so much going on here. Like we just did it. Like and we had a great time doing it too. We thought it was going to be hard at first, and we came together and figured it out.
Yeah, I mean it was great because like that's I guess, and let me be selfish here. So this is the thing I love about working with you, right? Like this is the shit we do.
Yeah.
At Encoded, like we sit there with a problem, and like
we kick it back and forth until we solve it.
Right, and then all of a sudden, like pieces start to drop in, and one person riffs off the other. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
All right. No, that's how it works, man. So another thing is as long as everyone is on board with the premise and are willing to fill in the gaps, these games end up being stable.
Yeah, let's let me just blow that out for a second.
Sure.
So, if you throw two batshit crazy genres together,
We just did that.
Yeah,
Those things don't go together. We figured out a way that it did.
that's true.
Because you just have to find where they meet up.
You literally have to, like, if they were gears, you got to rotate them until the teeth click in together.
You rotate the Venn diagram until the elements in the Venn diagram are the ones that go together.
Yes.
Cecilia.
Cecilia?
Did you say Cecilia?
Terrible.
If anyone
That's called a callback.
in the after show, I will discuss that reference. If people don't get it, you should just Google Venn diagram and Cecilia.
So what else we got?
Well, you can use them for a whole shit ton of play styles.
Yeah, absolutely. Tons of different play styles.
In fact, son of a bitch, how did we not talk about Firefly?
I mean, how it's like a Western plus a space opera.
It's not how it is. It is a Western plus space opera.
Well, yeah, there's that.
I mean, it's one of the most badass. It's one of the most badass mashups ever.
It's pretty much one of the most badass mashups ever that never got the proper run that it deserved.
Nope.
Damn you, Fox! You can't. This is
Yeah.
why we can't have nice things on network
That's
TV.
right, Fox.
Okay.
Well, hopefully this segment has given you a starting place for how to make your own mashups.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, with that, let's go to the chat room for life.
That was fun, man.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Chat room peeps. What about Ix Tenebrae?
Hey, Brandon. What's going on?
Brandon. Thank you. For some reason, I just can't equate those two. I hate these nicknames. I want everybody to make new accounts with your real name.
Stop your whining.
You don't hang out on Twitter enough.
No,
because
I don't.
these are like these are like mostly Twitter handles, and I'm like, I recognize everyone.
I felt bad when Mo was in there as Gilvin Blight. And I'm like, Gilvin Blight. Gilvin was like, it's weird that you're not calling me by my real name. I'm like, oh, it's Mo. Duh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somehow I knew that.
Anywho, so Brandon said, what about Grant Howitt's The Witch is Dead?
Yeah.
I haven't read
That
that,
would
yet.
be...
I don't know that
Grant
game.
Howitt's The Witch is Dead is a game where you are familiars, like little woodland creature familiars of a witch.
Oh, so this game already exists.
Yeah, and somebody killed the witch. And so you have like one night to exact your revenge. I forget, like you need their eyeball or something.
So the this game that we just designed already exists.
Not this one, because that one's about woodland creatures. It's not a coming of age by any means.
Okay.
But it is kind of a fun game.
I almost picked Talking Animals as one of them.
Then we would have gotten a lot closer to the
Yeah.
then we would have gotten a lot closer to that. I saw some other ones that came down that list, so thanks for not picking torture porn.
Yeah, I figured we'd stay away from that
I
one.
think I'm gonna X-carded that one out.
Yeah, I put the X card on the table.
I think I would have just done this. Little John Stravopoulos.
I just
X-card.
asked him if he would do that for me.
Yeah, is he gonna do it?
I don't know, but I
Oh,
told him
okay.
that's we'll talk about it in the after show.
All right. Anything else?
Lively crowd, great people.
Well,
Love
did they
them.
have any questions?
At the moment, no.
Okay, good. Then we can move on.
They're good. I think we appeased them by making our mashup.
And now the green faced of the demon spits out coins.
Oh, good question. Is my tongue green?
No,
Okay.
Oh, and
but
then
I
the
do have a
diamond.
diamond. Oh, enjoy the diamond.
I give it to Bob.
So first things first, as we get into the extra dimensional social media depository, another thing that we should talk about a little bit is the character cache once again. And we talked about it a little bit last week, but Isra 9 is for sale. Would you please tell the folks a little bit about Isra 9 and
Yep.
why they might want to pick her up?
Yeah. So Isra 9 is a cyberpunk character. She is both an AI that exists on the net and a cybernetic body that exists in meat space. And she's both simultaneously. She's an information broker.
Mm-hmm.
She's a deal maker. And she is kind of lethal as hell.
Does she identify as female, or are we just saying she because she looks female?
She identifies as female because that's how it was voted in.
Okay.
It was voted in as female.
Oh, all right.
So she does identify as female, but her cybernetic skeleton basically just has a holographic thing.
Yeah, I thought it was gender fluid. That's why I was curious.
Nope. No, this month's is gender fluid.
Ah.
But Isra 9 is female, although truthfully, with the holo projector and depending on which character stat you use, she can disguise herself.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
yeah, she could easily be. She could easily present as male.
Nice. All right, next thing. So if you want to pick up that, you can go to drive-thru to pick it up
That is
there.
on drive-through.
And if you want, characters, you can go to, Patreon and get in on the Patreon.
Yeah,
or
the
character cache.
current one is underway, and I released the first art teaser to the patrons because Matt has. Matt's actually done.
Yeah, he's done.
He's
Done.
Matt's done.
Done like dinner, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
The weight loss challenge update.
Aw.
Thank you, David Walker, for hitting this up for me.
Thank you, David.
He said, "Hello, friends. Let's hear how everyone is doing. We are coming down to the home stretch, so let's see the big push to the end." Walker, his starting was 227. His goal was 207. His current is 201. He's down 1.5 pounds from last week. He is so close to being under 200 again. And the side effect of losing weight, he had to replace all his pants this weekend. Man, that felt like good money to spend.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
That's like the best money ever to spend.
Yep. When I first lost a bunch of weight and got to buy like new clothes and stuff, that was really cool.
Yeah, so Sean P. Kelly, he didn't work out for 4 days because, Game Hole Con. He drank beer and he ate food from food carts, and he lost a pound. Go figure. His current is 195.
Oof.
Tim Jensen, he had a slightly different problem. His Monday weigh-in was 162. He's counting calories to make sure he got over 3,000 per day all week. Workout as normal, and his Sunday weigh-in was 161. So wow, that's crazy. He ate a whole bunch of stuff, and he was still down for the week.
I'm not having that problem.
Jared Rasher, last week he was 236. This week he's still at 236, which is kind of miraculous because they were on the go so much that they hit Chinese buffets at the local Mexican place, ordered pizza one night, and went to Penn Station before going to see Doctor Strange. He dodged a bullet, he said, but he'll be back at it this week. His goal is 220. He'll get there, I'm sure. He can do this. Troy Taylor, no change, still at 238. His goal of 230. Maybe voting and compiling election results will burn calories. Maybe. Randy Farmer, he had no weigh-in this week. He was traveling and made the King of Horseshoe. That involved learning of legendary Texas hospitality in a place called Comfort, Texas. Let's just say I'm giving myself a week to recover. He had a great picture of himself with a crown on his head, too. It's pretty funny.
Nice.
Matt Bonhoff, 228 still. He's not going to complain because he's weathered Halloween and his birthday without gaining weight.
No arguments there.
Sean Nicholson, he gained 0.2 pounds. He's up to 184.7. He's just not getting any traction on this thing, and it's his brother's birthday this weekend. He's going to try to double down till the weekend and lose at least 1 pound. So I hope you do. I hope that happens for you. All right, that's our weight loss update. Good job, everybody. Let's keep it up. It's November.
Good work.
We're running out of weeks. Oh man. Okay. So here's my game hole recap.
Yeah, do it, man.
Now.
Tell us all about Game Hole.
All right. So Thursday, the Game Hole special guests were at a party that Alex Kamer threw at his bar called the Free House. So the Free House is his bar and restaurant. He owns it. In fact, Alex, he lives like 2 blocks away from this place. He works his law office because he's a lawyer is like 2 blocks away from there. One way. The Game Hole and the Free House is 2 blocks another way, and his game store is like 2 blocks a different way. So he like lives in the middle of all the things that he like desires and owns.
Cecilia.
Jesus. All right. So the Game Hole is his place where he plays games with his friends, and his collection is there. And his collection consists of every single first edition module ever printed in the wrap.
Yeah, that's
It is.
so crazy.
I took a video of it. It's on Twitter somewhere, I believe.
Nice.
It is 4 shelves against 1 wall that are 6 shelves high. So it's like 20 feet of shelving.
Yeah.
And it's all full. The whole thing. And then there's a glass case in there too, that has like Blackmore's in there and the white boxes in there.
Shit,
and
yeah.
all sorts of crazy.
Man.
There's like D&D stuff is in there. And then there's like his other 2 rooms which have more stuff, like just other role-playing game stuff in them.
Nice.
And like there was even a map of the canvas map that Gary had painted of Greyhawk. He has it. Alex Kamer has it. He had it just sitting out, restored, like downstairs by the reg desk. Like,
come on.
this guy's collection is just insane. Like,
yeah. There's
Oh, by the way, his game table, Monty Cook's game table from Minnesota, or when he worked at Iron Crown, because he moved to Seattle, and he had to sell it, so he sold it to Kamer.
Alex.
Yeah, and Monty was there, so he was telling stories about the game table.
Nice. I think there is a podcast on Dead Gamer Society, which I don't think is active right now. Maybe it is. Maybe I stopped following it. But Dead Gamer Society had an interview with Alex about collecting old games, and he talks a lot about how he acquired, because that collection isn't just one of every of those modules. In some cases, he has multiples.
He does
of some of those.
So
modules.
there's one that's it's like a garden party type module from England that he was having a really hard time getting his hands on last time I heard.
Right.
He's got 2 copies of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said it was one of his scariest purchases because he didn't know the person in England at all, and he sent a whole bunch of money that way to get it, and luckily it came.
I mean, here's the thing about collecting, right? If you have enough money, you will eventually collect it.
So also the really cool thing, like being a special guest or sneaking in with somebody else who is a special guest, is really cool because all of the beer and food was like on Alex.
Oh,
and there was like 80 people there, and it was like the who's who of gaming, like especially D&D gaming. So like I'm sitting there eating, and like sitting to the table to the right of me is like Merles and Perkins and Crawford and Ed Greenwood's there, and
Frank Menser
Frank
was
Menser's
there, right?
wandering around, and the like there's a whole bunch of people like Monty Cook and Shauna Germain were there. Rob Shaw was there. Like who wasn't? Tim Kask was around somewhere. Like who wasn't there? It was crazy.
Yeah, let me just say, because I think I said it incorrectly, it's a Dead Game Society.
The Dead Game Society,
not
yeah.
Dead Gamers Society.
No,
I mean,
no.
maybe they've got a podcast too. I don't know.
The Dead Game Society, as far as I know, is. I mean, I talked to they were there too.
Yeah.
I talked to a couple of those guys. They haven't really put out many episodes lately. I guess they're like in a thing right now.
I like those episodes because I'm old, and like listening to them talk about Marvel superheroes or Top Secret or something like that shit's great.
It might not be that. No. They're still making shows. It's Drink Spin Run that I think is on the Pod Fady side right now. So Friday, I started the morning chatting with Sean and Dave Chris from Baldwin Games. Then I went to the D&D panel, and that was pretty enlightening. You can hear what I thought about that on Down with D&D. Then I stayed and hung out in a board game panel. So the board game panel consisted, because they were there too, Andy and Kristen Looney, and Paul Peterson and Eliza Teague. And Eliza Teague, I mean, you might not know that name, but she's worked on probably over 200 games.
I actually know the name. I don't associate it with any particular game, but
Yeah.
I know them.
And Paul Peterson made Smash Up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So amongst other games, like that might be the one that he's more. I mean, he worked on Magic the Gathering for a long time too. They had a lot of good things to say. That was a very educational panel. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Then I got to play The Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hypobaria. So that is like I think it's a Holmes hack.
Okay, yeah.
It's basically Dungeons and Elder Things.
Okay, I mean, talk about mashups.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm down with that.
Yeah. So we played, and like Hypobaria is like this terrible place to be in, and we went to this dungeon on this island, which is like a big giant cliff face. We go inside there, we talked to a water elemental, killed some Migo, saved a wizard who was a giant floating yellow glob.
Okay.
Used some zombies to walk across a trapped floor because it only triggered if living things touched on it. So we just laid them out and walked across them. Like you do, old school dungeon.
As you do.
Yeah, and I played that game with Jason Hobbs and the Birdman, and those two guys are cool as hell. I played Dungeon World with them later that weekend.
Yeah. Like
Hobbs is an awesome guy. Like he's posted a few times in our community, but we didn't really say anything back, I think, those couple times. And sometimes you just get lost in the mix. But I hung out with him a whole bunch, and he was a great time to hang out with. So if anybody gets a chance to game with Hobbs or just talk to him, do that because he's a good guy.
Now, did you get to meet some of the other icons, the gods of gaming from Brett's group?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Like they didn't like.
A lot of guys, I think, in Brett's group bailed on him at the last second.
Oh, okay. Like I didn't know like if Zeb and like those.
Yeah, they were supposed to be there, but they just didn't. They had other things going on.
Gotcha.
I had dinner with VC and his girlfriend Amanda. They were actually kind enough to buy me dinner.
Nice.
And then I hung out in the Clarion lobby that evening, and a bunch of people just kept buying me drinks.
Yeah, well, there's nothing bad about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was so cool to hang out with people, especially like folks who would listen to us that I've never met before. That it was great to meet them. So, like I said, on Saturday, I at 10 o'clock in the morning, I ran Dungeon World for Hobbsbird and Wayne Humfleet. So I played with them.
The great Wayne Humfleet.
The great Wayne Star Wars Humfleet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I went to the Monty Cook Games panel. That was a really enjoyable conversation. Then I hung out at the Gaming and BS booth for the good chunk of the rest of the day. I was there with Victor. We designed a game.
Nice.
Or most of a game.
Nice.
A Lovecraft game.
I'm digging.
Yep. Then VC was there. Brett and Sean were there. Hobbs was there. Michael Phillips, I met him. That was really cool. It was fun to talk to him too. There were so many people that just came by to chat, and some of them were just like looking for me, like, is Chris around? That was weird.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then at the end of the evening, there was the Gaming and BS social at the Clarion lobby, and I met Chris Steele.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so that was neat. And Eric Farmer was there too.
Very cool.
So I talked to Eric Farmer too. He said my East Coast, I'm really good at stuff things messes with his Midwest humble sensibilities. A little bit.
Hey, I'm from the East Coast. Whatever, man.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
No, it was cool. It was cool to actually sit and talk to him though. And Kev Thulu and Austin were there, both wearing their Polygamer shirts.
Yeah, the Polygamer shirt got some. Listen, this past weekend, so Kevin Austin wore their Polygamer shirts to Gamehole, and Rob Abrazado wore it to Metatopia.
Yep.
So like, it got some exposure this weekend.
It was pretty great actually. Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
And if to anybody who I'm forgetting who I met and talked to, I apologize if you're hearing this. I love you all. Sunday we got up and drove back bright and early. It wasn't really a bad drive. Sean is very good company.
Oh yeah,
It was like a 10-hour drive.
he's funny as hell.
He is. He's like sardonically funny.
Yeah.
It's pretty hilarious. Although it was weird though because we got up to leave right, and daylight savings is the night before, so like we get in the car and we didn't change the clock from we switched, so it's like 2 hours ahead. So I mean we get in the car, it's 8 a.m, right? But it says 10 a.m. on the clock.
It's like a time warp.
Yeah, it's a bit of a time warp.
So you had a little con crash coming down, right? I had lunch with you Monday.
Yeah, I was pretty out of it. I just wanted to sleep, and I did actually sleep for like another 4 hours that day.
Yeah, you and I went for Venezuelan.
Yeah, it was good.
That new place.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah.
I'm glad you had a good time.
It was a great show. Everybody was so kind to me. Like the Midwest is a great place to go for to hang out and play games.
Yeah, the Midwest is awesome.
And I mean, I ran Dungeon World for a bunch of people, for those people too, and those folks too, and they play.
Good thing you put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah, right. That's what I said actually. I actually told him like, I mean, I say this. I told him like, I talk a big game. I better run a good game.
That's right.
Yeah. But Hobbs was like, I will run a BX game, basic expert game for you and whoever else that wants to play online.
Awesome.
And I will probably take that up for him. And he lives in Chicagoland, so he's out that way, I guess.
You should at some point. I gotta shoot you a copy, or you gotta pick up a copy of Black Hack.
I probably should pick up a copy of Black.
I mean,
Hack.
it's $2, but it'll appeal to your sensibilities. It's OSR, but you'll like the game. You'll like the game mechanics in it. It's an OSR you could get behind.
Yeah, I'm sure I can. I mean, I have Into the Odd too that Victor gave me. So I actually gave him. I traded since he gave me that. I gave him my copy of Siren because he doesn't have a copy of it.
I heard you had a good time playing Siren a couple weeks ago.
I did have a good time playing Siren,
Yeah.
but I still have I have another copy of it, so it's not a big
Nice.
deal. I have a PDF copy of it, so not a big deal that I don't have the physical copy anymore. All right, moving on because that was Gamehole Con recap.
Yeah, do it.
So a couple of Kickstarter things that I want to talk about. So the Fantasy Renaissance modules to the Toad God series. I only bring this up again because our man Matt Morrow is the cover artist for these things.
Let's be clear. We love Matt Morrow's artwork.
We love Matt Morrow's artwork, and the cover of the first mod that I saw is like a party of adventurers fighting like some lizard type people and some toads, and I'm like, man, those guys are mess. They're gonna get screwed. And Matt was like, I figured it was like a 3-axe hit for them to finish that thing, but I forgot about the giant swamp thing that's coming from the back. Started giggling.
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So currently this Kickstarter is at $4,800, and it needs to get to 6,000. It's got 7 days left to go. And these mods, they are for 5th edition Dungeon Crawl Classics, Swords and Wizardry, Castles and Crusades, Pathfinder, and Savage World. So if you're into any of those games, it's $15 to get all of the mods in all of those games. So that's the easy, low-cost buy-in. And this is the second series of mods that these folks have done, and by all accounts, the first set was pretty good. So just so in case you're interested in getting in on that, I will have a link in the show notes, and you can check it out. Memories of the Toad God is the name of the series. All right. Another Kickstarter that I wanted to bring up because I ran into these folks at Gamehole Con too. Isometric Gaming Paper. So Gaming Paper is making isometric gaming paper. And the Kickstarter is ongoing right now. It's well funded. They were looking for $1,000. They're at $21,000. There's 16 days to go. If you've ever wanted to draw isometric dungeons for your game so that you could have your miniatures walking around on these isometric dungeon maps, go check it out. I actually have a couple of rolls of it. I opened up one of the rolls and looked at it. It's really cool. Like it's isometric, man.
It's isometric. My first encounter with isometric mapping was the Dungeoneering guide from first edition. That, and I think it's one of the early Dragonlance modules, the one where it's in the first book where they find the staff. like with the gully dwarves.
Mm-hmm.
Though that module had that, and I forget what that ruin was, but it had it in the isometric map.
Yeah,
It's so badass.
It is.
But
Isometric maps are the coolest.
I barely have the drawing talent to pull off a just overhead map. Like I would need like the isometric paper and like a fucking art lesson.
Well, the isometric paper makes it a lot easier to draw that stuff.
Well, yes, I would hope so, but I still feel kind of fucking hopeless at those things. But yeah,
Back in the day, I used regular graph paper and I recreated the isometric maps of Castle Ravenloft from the adventure.
Wow.
Just because I felt like it, apparently.
you know, I always forget this. This is the thing that we don't often talk about. Bob has some drawing talent.
Really?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah?
Yeah. He doesn't use it very often, but when he was younger, back in the Renaissance, he did actually pick up a few drawing hacks. Yeah.
So real quick, if you want to get some isometric gaming paper, a roll of it, and you know the rolls, they look like Christmas wrapping paper rolls. They
we have them up in the rafters up there.
You can get a roll of that for $5. You can get the single sheets. You can get 100 of them for $9. I actually like the single sheets because you can then put them together. I'm a big fan of doing that, and then you can laminate them if you want.
Shit, yeah, you can.
So those are the easy buy-ins right there. And like I said, this thing is well funded. It's at $21,000 of the 1,000 that I was looking for.
I love it.
All right, let's move on to something else. Community chatter. V. He said, when is it good to simply reskin something, changing trappings only, as opposed to substantially reworking it, changing trappings and mechanics, or lifting some elements from it to work into something else, drawing on some elements as part of a mashup of a new thing?
Oh, wow.
Coming at us from last week's topic.
Maybe Avi should be your guest host.
Maybe he should be.
For next week. Wow. That's all right. Let's wade into this.
Let's start with the first thing. When is it good to simply reskin something, changing the trappings only?
I think if the tropes are pretty much aligned, if the thing that you want it to be and the thing that it is, if those tropes are pretty much the same, a reskin is easy.
Yeah, absolutely. Or if it's all working in conjunction. So what about substantially reworking and changing trappings and mechanics?
All right. So now this is a case where you really like something about the original game. So you either really like the setting or the mechanics, and you're now trying to get it to be the other thing.
Well, that's like, say if Luke Cage was like a Marvel phase rip game,
yeah,
and you wanted to put it in Eberron like we did. We did to change a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we totally
changed the trappings and the mechanics.
Right. So the thing that we liked in that is like Eberron was our fixed point, right? Like Eberron and D&D, we were like, we don't really want to move on these, but we really want Luke Cage.
Yeah.
So let's modify it, because
so it's often when you have an idea that has a bunch of different trappings, and you have to change a lot of stuff to get it to where you want it to be.
Yeah, and so part of that's going to come from your philosophy of approach, right? Like you might say something like, for instance, we could say, all right, I want to do Luke Cage fantasy style. All right. And then you would say, okay, what game systems do I think could pull that off? Right. And then you would start down the list. Or the other approach you can say is, I want to do a D&D thing, but I want it to be Luke Cage.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're saying like we fixed the mechanics down.
Yeah, it's mostly because I want to play D&D. It sounds like that's the thing that we're talking about.
Yes.
We want to do a thing. Like we want to play a certain game.
Right. So the answer to Avi's question is, if you are trying to pin one of those things down, that's when you would do the substantial rework.
Yeah, because you want the thing.
Right. Because
you
if you
want
just
to play a certain game.
Right. Because if you didn't care, you would just be like, I'm doing this thing in Savage Worlds.
Yeah. Or you're just like, I'm going to play Marvel Phase Rip. I'm just going to skin everything with Eberron.
Exactly. But if your goal is like, I want to play some D&D, but I want it to be like Luke Cage, then you're going to do some fixing.
Yeah. And then the last thing is, what about lifting some elements from it to work into something else, drawing on some elements as part of a mashup of a new thing. Although we just talked about that.
Well, that's the extreme case of like, I really like this. I really like this trope.
Well, we just
we did.
A mashup of a new thing. We refer to previous episode or previous conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a design choice a design aesthetic.
Mhm.
Like it depends on how you approach it. Like I'm polygamerous. So for me, I will rarely pin down the mechanic. I would rather say like, what is this thing? And then what's the best game I think I can think of that would fit this?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I've seen people, in fact, people have actually published games like Stars Without Numbers is OSR sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were simply like, I'm using D&D.
I'm using like basic D&D or
Yeah.
Homes or
I mean-
AD&D. I forget what it's a skin of.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it is, but
Somebody who's more familiar with the OSR can tell me.
I'm using D&D to make a sci-fi game. Like they held fast onto the D&D concepts and then like rebuilt everything around it to be sci-fi.
Hmm.
That's one way to go, and that's a case where you love that system, so you just want to do more things in that system.
Yeah.
I'm the opposite, right? Like I'm the one who says, what's the best sci-fi thing I can find?
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing I want to use.
Yeah.
Yeah. But neither one is invalid. They are literally how you it's based on your wants and your design aesthetic.
Well, Adventure Conqueror King is I think it's a basic expert game, like D&D basic expert game, but it has like a meta game inside of it where it takes you from adventurer to conqueror to king. Like it actually has that structure built into the game because they wanted to play D&D, but they wanted to have that experience with that kind of D&D.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Things I learned this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stars
yeah.
Without Number, by the way. Sorry. Stars Without Number is inspired by the Moldvay and Menser.
There you go.
oh,
versions.
very nice.
All right.
The pink box.
Isn't Menser the red box?
Menser is the red box.
Moldvay
Moldvay
is the pink box? Who's the brown? Isn't that Holmes?
No, Holmes is blue.
Okay.
Brown is like the old, like the white box, brown box.
Okay.
I think that's right.
I'm pretty sure it was white,
Somebody
brown, and then
Holmes is blue because it's the blue and white cover with the dragon. That's the first one I think you played.
technically no. I played like brown box.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Shit, I never.
way back in.
I
But
came
we
in-
digress.
I came
we
in
did
at
digress a
Holmes. Like my DM had Holmes, but by the time I went to buy it, it was like Mulvey was out.
And this tangent brought to you by Phil Vecchione and me.
This is what happens, man.
Yeah. All right, Phil, it's time for your carry segment. Not that I have a bumper for your carry segment, but I will next week, although you won't be here.
Okay.
Chink.
Yeah. Zip, zip. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. All right. So in Phil's carry segment.
Oh, tell me about the 3V Gear Smuggler.
All right, so 3V Gear, a mid-range, because they're actually not that expensive. I'll actually call them low-range. A rather affordable bag company making tactical-type bags.
What is affordable?
Affordables in the $30 to $50 range.
Okay.
So I consider that affordable when you're talking about bags that you're not buying at Target.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's better than the like $300 I was hearing you quote about certain bags.
Yeah, yeah. So, for instance, I have a 3V Gear Outlaw sling bag.
Uh-huh.
Like you've seen that. That's my con pack.
Yep.
The V-Locks, which I took to Mexico, is
Mhm.
their assault backpack. But they just released the Smuggler, which is a duffel bag. And so there's nothing tactical about the bag. It is it is a big hollow tube, right? It's a duffel bag.
Yeah.
But it's made of a really nice waterproof fiber. It's seriously like thick and water resilient. It's got a nice cover, so the top zips, but it has an overhang, so it covers the zipper,
Uh-huh.
which is great for rain because your zippers are the first point of entry for water in your bag.
Ah.
So, like for instance, like my Kato bag has this flap that goes over the top that actually protects the main compartment and the secondary compartment from water.
Very nice.
So anyway, the Smuggler comes in 3 sizes. It's a 45 liter, 55 liter, and a 65 liter. I think that's right. Bag. I got the 45 because the 45 is TSA approved to be a carry-on still.
Oh, there you go.
And that was part of my thing was I wanted something that I could still get on a plane with. And the thing I like about the, because I don't like duffels usually because you're just carrying it like slung over you.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do like about this bag is that it comes with 2 backpack straps.
Oh, neat.
So you can actually throw it on your back. It has the center handle that's Velcroed. and it has handles on both ends of it, so you could pick it up by one end or the other. The fabric is really durable. There's no internal organization. Again, it's a duffel bag. It's just empty. Although the zipper top has a mesh, like a mesh pouch that you can stuff stuff in.
Yeah.
I packed it for a bunch of days with my CPAP and clothes and toiletries and stuff like that, and had room to spare. Like, it was really, it was comfortable. I threw it on my back with the Kato slung on the front to see what it was like, and I wouldn't hike with it, but getting through an airport or something and like getting to my hotel, totally would do that.
So on the for the EDC scale of Vecchiones, giving on a scale of 1 to 5 Vs, how many Vs would you give it?
I'm giving this thing a solid 4. Like, I like this bag a lot. There's just not much you can do with it other than just like it's a big hollow tube you can put shit in and carry it. But I like it. It cost me, I think the 45 liter cost me about $30 with shipping.
Very
So
nice.
I was pretty pleased.
So that's there. You heard it right here. The 3V Gear Smuggler, 4 Vs from Phil Vecchione.
Yeah. And let me just say this: I am pursuing Rob Donahue as we speak.
Ooh.
So we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about is it possible for us to have a little recording and where we talk about EDC and stuff and game design.
Now let's move on to talking about Patreon shoutouts, because we love our Patreons because they give us money and they are also very active in chatting with us and being a part of the community.
Yeah, let me say this: we're a week into having opened the Slack channel.
We had over 3,000 messages the week that we opened it up.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even keep up with it, honestly. Like, it's at work
I'm
and
doing
it
a pretty
just
good
sits
job.
there like churning while I'm sitting there at work
You know, I actually have to schedule out like 15 minutes a day
to spend some time with it.
to read it,
Yeah.
to catch up.
It's really like, I mean, listen, they're having enough fun by themselves. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice that we also show up, but it's great. Like, I am so happy we did that.
I was having some fun conversations with Fraser Simmons last night about excuse me, I'm sorry. About game design. We were talking about I think it was complex math. The other Sean Kelly, Sean D20 Kelly, right? Is that how that goes? Sean
D20 Kelly.
D20
Yep.
Kelly. About keeping Apocalypse World games primarily in the story level, not the story level, the player level, the character level,
Yeah.
like the character facing play. Remember how we were trying to do that with Mike with the D20 touching it?
Yes.
Like, and it doesn't work because it messes that format up. But we were talking about ways that it could work, and I was talking about like how that's a good methodology. But what you need to do is you have to have multiple things that you can touch, because then you can keep the story part,
Interesting.
that character part,
Yeah.
just in the verbal, right?
Yeah.
And you can keep the mechanical part in the visual.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That way you can just the all the verbal is always just in the story, and then you've separated those two parts of the game.
I mean, honestly, app would be awesome for that.
It would be.
Because you'd be able to do something like touch the move, tell it to roll dice, like.
Yeah,
And
well, the always the problem with that was for us was like sometimes when Mike would touch the D6, we weren't sure what he was indicating us to go with, because we had that like you can defy danger in a bunch of different ways,
right?
And we weren't sometimes always sure which move we were triggering. Like if you were to slim the game down to something else, and you had that touch feel, that was a cool conversation that we had. So I mean, you were talking about the Slack Room for Life. I mean, I love the Slack Room for Life.
I do too.
Yeah, patrons. If you're in there for $4 or more a month, which by the way, the $4 or more a month for Pandas Talking Games has gone way up because of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have way more $4 patrons now than we ever had.
Yay.
You can get into that Slack room. There you go. So other shout-outs. Let's do the shout-outs for real now. So Sean Gilgore, The Edge.
Yeah, man, my bro from like all the way back to high school.
All the way back. Great guy. Thank you so much for being a patron. Appreciate it. Eric Jeppesen, also a great person. Thank you so much for patroning us. We appreciate it. Wayne Palladian Chang, The Herald. I mean, and also one of the biggest instigators in this Slack Room for Life.
He is a huge instigator in the Slack room. He's also the guy who got us our artwork.
Yes. Yeah. He's also the guy who's trying to organize a whole bunch of stuff for us for Breakout, since we're going to be in his neck of the woods.
Yes, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Breakout. Oh, you know what? Never mind. That's not a song. That's a song from a kid's show. Fuck.
True.
Damn it. That's a song from Backyardigans.
Well, there's
that's
Swing
funny.
Out Sister, Breakout.
Yeah, no, that's not. I was actually literally singing the song from Backyardigans, Breakout. I'll play it for you later.
Kevin Lovecraft, thank you so much. Also, it was great to hang out with you and see you this past weekend.
He
Kevin.
was in the chat room for a little bit and then had to bail.
Bail, yeah. That's
He was
okay.
tired.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I'm still sort of recovering from the weekend. And then Brandon Barnes.
In the chat room.
That's right, in the chat room. Thank you so much for being a patron of Misdirected Mark Productions.
Yeah.
We appreciate you all. All right. Because it's time for the Super Friends of Podcasting roundup.
Yes. Gaming and PS talked about aging.
They did, in fact, talk about aging.
You
But
know-
I'm going to talk about the fact that they had their GameHoleCon recap. So they talked like for 40
But that's
minutes.
this week's episode.
I know.
I didn't get to listen to this
I
week's
know.
episode.
I didn't get to listen to last week's episode.
Well, then
Well, that's not right.
we're at an impasse.
We can just talk about both of them. Then we can
Okay.
flip for next week.
Well, it's fine. Next week I won't be here.
Well, that's true.
You know what? I'll tell you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about their game hole wrap up, and then I'll tell you a little bit about aging.
They pretty much did what I just did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they just went through their days and then they stopped the episode and they talked because they interviewed Angry One. So here's what you're going to get from them on their bonus BS feed. There's an interview with Ed Greenwood. There's an interview with Mark Miller from Traveler, who doesn't
Ooh.
go out very much and talk to people. So that's cool.
I mean, he had to write all those rules for 5th edition Traveler. Like,
Yeah.
how could he get out?
But he doesn't go to conventions very often. He hardly ever does interviews.
Hmm.
So that's kind of a special thing. There's the Monica Games panel that was recorded, and then there's the D&D panel that was recorded. So
Awesome.
you can get all that stuff on their bonus BS feed.
Nice. So I listened to their episode on aging. So, once again, I'm just going to say this, that at all times, Sean should be allowed to do the pure mongrel Australian accent.
Yeah.
I love it. And I think he got some support. I think Avi and a few others also egged him on.
Oh, did they? Good.
Yeah, that it was okay.
Fantastic.
That it's okay that he should do that.
Yeah.
But then they talked about aging and about the effects of age on characters.
Mhm.
It was a good topic, but my experience with it is that
I've never used the aging rules once ever.
exactly. I've never used the aging rules, and I don't have anything for it. Like,
boys, are you running out of topics?
yeah, I mean, honestly, that's the kind of thing that we go take into the garage to dismantle. But
yeah.
there isn't enough meat on that bone.
Yeah.
Like, I've done it. Like, the only time it's ever come up, and it's never really been an issue, is abusing haste, because technically haste ages you.
Dying ages you if you get brought back to life, apparently too.
Yeah, dying. Yeah. But what's the? I don't know. The way I run campaigns, like, I don't run campaigns where they go like years. Like, it's the most exciting couple years of somebody's life, and then we're done.
I mean, I've ran campaigns where we've time jumped before. I mean, but even then, it's not time jumping that far.
Right.
It's like 6 months, a year. You know?
Yeah, I've never really gotten into it, and I mean, the part I did like, they talked about it in Traveler, because it's a little more relevant in Traveler because you have to go through the life path system, so you are aging as you're trying to develop your character.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like
That's why they did that topic, because Brett just started playing Traveler.
yes,
And they had a whole
they did a whole
sessions.
yeah. So it was good in that, but like in D&D, like I've never used the aging rules.
Yeah.
Like I've never been like, oh, I'm now a young adult half orc. Like whatever. Like I'm,
Well, those rules aren't very robust, right? The Traveler rules are different. Like,
the Traveler rules have a different purpose because the Traveler rules aren't expecting you to age in the game.
mm-hmm.
It's tied to you aging as you're making your character, because your character in some way is a bit of a push your luck
It is.
mechanic.
Yeah, it's
Like,
really cool, actually.
yeah, the life path system, you can get fucked up, and in the original Traveler, you just fucking die.
And you owe so many dollars to the swear jar
Yeah,
right
whatever.
now.
We're explicit, man. I can curse.
You can, but
I
you
mean, the
don't-
Mongoose
you
game
don't
kind of,
have to.
the Mongoose game goes soft on this. Like, no, you don't die.
I guess the new one doesn't either, really. Like, you can get messed up, but you don't
Yeah,
die.
I mean, go play Little Black Book or something. You're like, you get greedy. You want that Type S scout ship.
Mhm.
You might die trying to get it.
It's true.
Anyway, that, to me, I agree with you. It's more relevant when it is in proximity to actual rules that are being engaged.
Yeah.
But like the D&D one, that was like, it's even in 3rd edition. Like, there's that thing in 3rd edition that tells you the age ranges and
Yeah,
what-
but who cares?
yeah, because it's not really near what you're
I
doing.
mean, like, even that rule is more useless than encumbrance, man. Like, encumbrance
It
has
is
a
more
purpose.
useless. Encumbrance is actually more interesting than age.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick with that. I will stand by our encumbrance episode many episodes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I will stand by that. We did a good job on that. Anyway,
I think that was pre-Bob.
Oh, that
It
was
was.
pre-Bob.
It was.
See, not all the good episodes came after you, man.
I mean, don't get us wrong. We understand there's a serious uptick once you arrived, but we, every now and then,
Bard episode. And
every now and then we did
episode.
actually pull something good out of the ground. Okay, yeah, that's a thing.
All right, real quick, other things that I listened to because I want to talk about other podcasts before we get to the talking tabletop stuff. Because there was no She's a Super Geek.
Nope, there was not.
All right, episode 78 of The Gauntlet. They did Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition, Apillion, and the King in Yellow RPG. Because I forget who it was, but they got to play the King in Yellow RPG with Robin Laws. Yeah, the very, very still in its infancy game.
Yeah, nice.
That's supposedly going to Kickstarter next month. Panda's Talking Games. The Strix episode dropped.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was good.
It was a really good episode. I highly suggest listening to it. Down with D&D, we did the car episode. That
Yes.
happened. You can listen to that. Advantage to Insight. I don't know if I talked about this on the last episode because it came out after. They talked about children, gaming with children,
Nice.
like playing D&D with, especially and with kids, like in that 8 to 12-year-old range.
Sweet. I listened to Modifier, the Go Home episode.
Yeah?
The second part of the Go Big or Go Home.
Yeah, was
so
it good?
They were talking about one-on-one. Megan was talking about one-on-one games.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting.
Nice.
There's actually a podcast. I didn't realize this
This is
because
Potty of One. Potty. Yeah, I think it's called
Yes.
Potty of One.
yeah, it's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's the Gnomecast started. I don't think I
Yeah,
talked about that.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. I don't think I talked about that last week, did I?
I don't remember if we mentioned it,
Yeah, Approaches to Continuity. It was you, me, and Senda.
which is always fun.
Yeah, and then the next episode, which will I think comes out this week, if I remember correctly, maybe next week, is me, Ange, and Avery.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Man.
I mean, technically, right now, this is like its own Gnomecast right here. Like, there's Bob.
I mean, yeah, but
No, we don't do that, but
yeah,
Bob's a gnome.
yeah, because the Gnomecast is a very specific thing. We were talking about gnome articles.
Yeah, I
and
actually
expanding upon
I
them.
actually love it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's actually pretty much all. I mean, I listened to some other things, but those are the game.
I listened to a bunch of
things.
non-gaming podcasts while I was driving.
Yeah, I listen to non-gaming podcasts too. So now Talking Tabletop. So Satanic Panic episode 2 came out. If you're not listening to the show, go listen to it. It's
I
great.
gotta go listen to
It's-
Satanic One.
Yeah, listen to those first two together. They're great.
Yeah.
And then Jim had James Intercasso on Talking Tabletop. And I love James Intercasso. Like, he's a great guy. And if you want to know what he's up to and things like that, you should go listen to it. James does the World Builders blog. He does a bunch of shows on the Tome Show, the Round Table, and a few other shows.
Nice.
And he's part of that crew that does Have Spellbook Will Travel.
There we go.
All right.
Sweet.
Well, Phil, it's only 10:30.
We did a good job.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
We did a good job. That's I mean, there's gonna be some significant after show when we get into this.
Yeah, man. Was there anything going on in the chat room before we get out of here?
The Party of One. The Queen says it's Jeff Stormer,
Okay.
and he's one of the new kids in podcasting, and seems awesome. So
Nice. Very nice.
something worth
I
checking
look
out.
forward to meeting him or talking to him.
I
or
feel like
hanging out with him.
I feel like we're getting old in podcasting,
Oh
right?
yeah, we're kind of, as far as podcasts go, we're like middle aged.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm middle aged in real life, so
Let's wrap this up and do some after show.
Yeah, is that all that's going on in the show?
yeah,
All
people are getting excited.
right. Thank you everyone so much for listening.
If you are free on Tuesday evenings, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 6:45 p.m. the Queen's time, which, by the way, the Queen's time I think will adjust next week to a different time zone, but don't let that screw you up. 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Come join us live on Twitch, where you can chat with other listeners in our awesome chat room for life and ask us questions.
If you cannot make it to the live show, check out our podcast each week wherever you get your podcasts, and take a listen to some of the other shows in the Misdirected Mark Network, such as Down with D&D, Threats from Gallifrey, Advantage to Insight, Pandas Talking Games, and Cypher Speak with Darcy and Troy. By the way, I actually ran into Troy too at GameHoleCon.
Come on.
Yeah, I got
That's
to talk to him
awesome.
for like 15 minutes, but he had his kids, and his kids are adorable. They were having a good old time.
Nice.
It was weird too. I'm tangenting real quick. Troy knows Shauna and Monty. I've talked to Shauna and Monty. Troy,
Yeah.
Shauna and Monty know him.
Nice.
It was. I was like, yeah, well, that's cool. You actually talk to each other all the time and stuff. So you can and should also check out some of our brother and sister podcasts. She's a Super Geek, Jim McClure's Talking Tabletop and Satanic Panic shows, The Shrieker, Knights of the Night, and the always amazing Gaming and BS.
After you have listened to us, if you would like to mash up your ideas with ours, you can leave us feedback. See how I did that?
Yes, I did.
It's funny, right? It was.
It's clever.
You can reach us directly by email, Chris at misdirectedmark.com,
That's me.
Phil at misdirectedmark.com,
That's him.
Bob at misdirectedmark.com,
That's him.
and by all means, send your peanut butter and jelly porn to Bob.
Absolutely.
You can check us out on Facebook. We have our own Facebook group. You can hit us up on Twitter, and I'll just go right around the table at DNA Phil, at Robert M. Everson, at Misdirected Mark, and at The Light 101, where you can get your postmodern jukebox jams day and night.
Yes, you can.
And then, of course, please go to the Coruscant of our social media empire, our G Plus community.
And if you have any feedback on the previous episode, like this episode right here, just put it in the comments of that episode, and I will make sure to have it in our next show. If you like what we do here and on the other shows in the Mr. Edgar Mark Network, you can support our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MMP. Patrons get access to the after show, our pre-production show notes, musical parodies, and the Pandas Talking Games bonus outtakes, plus any special releases that we may or may not have.
Like this week,
Rocker Boys and Vending Machines.
Yes, I froze there for a second.
That's okay.
I'm drinking too much of that green shit.
Green shit? Is it making y'all twitchy and
I'm
stuff?
locking up here.
It's locking up. Oh, God, it's locking up. Well, before Phil locks up even more, because he needs to punch a mic in a second, this has been a Misdirected Mark production, the media arm of Encoded Designs. And here's a game hole mic drop.
We out!